This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump.
And a friend of mine for a long time, he only likes politics. If you ask him about how are the Yankees doing, he has no interest. If you ask him almost anything, he likes politics, and he's a professional at the highest level. Roger Stone.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone. This is the Roger Stone Show.
Presented by Legacy Precious Metals.
Now, here's Roger Stone. Now, it's time for Protecting Your Investments. Sponsored by Colonial Metals Group.
Here's Roger Stone.
You know, in this turbulent and uncertain economic times, with the Biden administration hell-bent on moving us to a digital currency where you wouldn't even control your own money, and with spending going into the stratosphere, all of my smart friends are protecting their retirement and their investments by diversifying their portfolio to include precious metals like gold and silver. You can even convert your IRA. Gold and silver are solid assets that will hold you in good stead in the coming difficult economic times. And the folks at the Colonial Metals Group, that's colonialmetalsgroup.com/stone, are the very best in the business. They're the ones that I trust. If you call them at 800-747-6589, they will send you a free gold guide, give you a free consultation, and you may actually qualify for up to $7,500 in free silver today. So go talk to the folks at Colonial Metals Group.com/stone. Again, 800-747-6589. You'll be glad you did. All right. Joining me now, Jack Posobiec is a senior editor at Human Events and host of Human Events Daily. He has more than 250 million downloads per week. He's one of the most influential and outspoken advocates for America and the U.S. Constitution and our freedoms. He's also a veteran of the U.S. Navy intelligence and served his country at both Guantanamo Bay and East Asia. He's fluent in a number of languages, including both Polish and Mandarin, but he's going to talk to us in English today. And then a little later on, Congressman Eric Burleson will join us again to talk about what the House Republicans should be doing, are doing, and are not doing. Jack Posobiec, welcome to the Roger Stone Show.
Roger, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate the introduction there, and I promise I'm working on improving my English.
It's very odd. Robin Bullock is a Christian prophet. He appears on Elijah Streams, which is a Christian-based platform. And he has an extraordinary accuracy in terms of his prophecies. These are things that God has shown him, has told him. And he told me 4 or 5 months ago that there would be an attempt on President Trump that would only graze his ear. And he told me that there were biblical references in Samuel 1 that spoke to this situation almost in an analogous way. But then he told me 2 weeks ago that he believed that the president's airplane could be a vulnerability, that the Lord has shown him this. Now, I'm a Catholic, but I take everything I hear seriously, because God does speak to people. He certainly speaks to me at certain times. And then we read, incredibly, that there's a critical report that says that 9 surface-to-air missiles have entered the United States through our New Mexico border, and that the target is, according to intelligence, President Trump's plane. What's going on here, Jack?
Well, Roger, thanks so much for having me on. And by the way, if you hear aircraft, that's because I'm actually standing on the roof of the Kennedy Center right now, looking at the Potomac, right next door to the Watergate Hotel, with the Pentagon and Arlington National Cemetery in the distance, right here in the belly of the beast. And I'll be taking the stage over at the Rescue the Republic rally with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Russell Brand here in about an hour. But Roger, what we're seeing is a potential threat stream towards President Trump that is active. People have asked about the two assassination attempts that have occurred. And while those are the two that we know about, I've actually heard reporting that there are multiple other attempts that have taken place, have been thwarted as to this point, but have not yet been made public. President Trump, of course, alluding to this in a tweet where intelligence was telling him that there were some indications that an Iranian hit team was gunning for him. Now, that, of course, the words of U.S. intelligence. So I would take it to mean that someone is coming for him, though I'm not sure if we can take their word for it being the Iranians. That being said, these surface-to-air missiles, the question, of course, if this information is true, the question would not necessarily be payload. The question would be method of platforming. So firing off a surface-to-air missile would require some sort of javelin, would require some sort of launcher, a Stinger missile, that type of thing. But the other possibility that a lot of people have been asking about in this town, in Washington, D.C., in intelligence circles and security circles, folks that I've talked to at the highest levels, they're worried about drone warfare. This is the same type of drone warfare that we've seen on the battlefield in Ukraine. We're seeing it across the Middle East with Iran, the Gaza situation, and Israel. And we are, in fact, seeing it on the border. What they're doing, Roger, is they're taking even sometimes improvised explosive devices, the IEDs that were ubiquitous, of course, in the global war on terror, now strapping them to FPV drones, first-person view drones, and then using those drones as a sort of kamikaze against a larger implement, be it a vehicle or potentially even being an airplane, an aircraft. If you hit one of the jets with one of these things, you would easily be able to disable or possibly take down an aircraft up to and including Trump Force One. And so this is a very serious situation that I know for a fact the Secret Service has taken into account, as well as, Roger, not just the aircraft, but the motorcade. President Trump and J.D. Vance, by the way, even when he's going to Tremonti Brothers, he does have a Secret Service escort, a full advance team, et cetera, when they're going to these things. And there have now been discussions about using potential decoy motorcades. And I've even heard some chatter, I believe it's at the rumor level now, of decoy charter aircraft that they might bring either President Trump or J.D. Vance to while they're traveling in between locations because of this. Now, obviously, decoy aircraft, very expensive. But again, these are the security implements that are required to be put in after the two very real assassination attempts on President Trump's life. We've written a book about this. The first book, it's called Bulletproof. It's available now for pre-sale. But we've actually launched what we're calling all of this the Bulletproof Project. And I'm taking all of this information and compiling it into a series of reports. So the first book, which is the first report, is on the way. But if people want to go and pre-order, that'll enroll you in the project. You will get all the information, all the intelligence that we're putting together and coming out in the next report. Of course, we're breaking as much as we can on the show as well. But, Roger, the point is, and as Matt Gaetz said on my show a week ago now, and I said on stage with Tucker Carlson, there are active assassination teams that are targeting President Trump, 5 at least that the intelligence community thinks they know of. And it's possible that this gentleman who was down at the West Palm Beach Golf Club, Trump International, on September the 15th, Ryan Wesley Routh, who was directly tied to Ukrainian intelligence and Ukrainian foreign fighter groups, may have been one of these foreign teams that was targeting President Trump.
The question surrounding that gentleman, I believe his name is Ryan Routh, just continue to amaze. Now, suddenly he left a box of of things. We're not sure what's in the box. With a friend just prior to this attempted assassination, his son was conveniently arrested with the claim that he had child pornography on his phone. We have no explanation of how he got to the United States. He is behind in his child support payments, which he can't make, but somehow he managed to fly to Ukraine. He managed to post websites recruiting mercenary soldiers for Ukraine. And most outrageous, and we'll talk about this on the other side, when there's a mass shooter in Nashville, they refuse to release his manifesto because they say it's too shocking for the American people. Yet they release a letter from Ryan Routh in which he tries to recruit someone else to kill Donald Trump, offering them a $150,000 reward. Where would a man who's allegedly indigent, can't make his child support payments, where would he get $150,000? Who paid for him to go to Ukraine? How did he obtain a weapon? He had 47 convictions, including those that would prevent him from having a gun. But nonetheless, he had a gun and seems to have waited outside Mar-a-Lago, the president's palatial estate, and outside the international golf course owned by Trump in West Palm Beach for days in preparation. Folks, you're tuned into the Roger Stone Show here on the Red Apple Audio Network. We're talking to Jack Posobiec, the senior editor of Human Events, one of the most influential conservative journalists in the country, and we'll be right back.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
Presented by Legacy Precious Metals.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
And welcome back. We're with Jack Posobiec, who is senior editor at Human Events. He is in Washington, D.C., where he is about to take the stage in a grassroots rally that includes speakers like Robert F. Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, I believe, and others. Jack, it's got to be very exciting there on the ground. I think this political realignment of the Cheneys and the McCains and the Kinzingers joining with the party of war, the Democrats, while we get common sense Democrats and independents to join the MAGA coalition with a new commitment to make America healthy again. I think this is the most exciting potential political realignment in the country in my lifetime.
So, Roger, this really is incredible, politically speaking. I mean, I'm here, and I think I'm the only Republican who's actually speaking today because we've got, as you mentioned, Robert F. Kennedy, we've got Tulsi Gabbard, Rob Schneider is here, Dr. Malone is here. You've got people from across the spectrum. This is the political realignment. And in addition, Roger, it's the team. This is the team that President Trump has put together to retake the White House and to put the country under new management. I threw out on Twitter the other day, it almost feels like we're witnessing a new generation of founding fathers assemble before us. And when I look across the other side of the aisle, what team do they have, Roger? It's the team of war. It's the team of the past. It's the team of the failed policies of the last 30 years that have put us in this situation. And I just have to tell you, by the way, I don't even know if this was planned or not, but there, as I speak to you, below me in the Potomac, there are boats going by right now. I didn't even know this was going on, carrying Trump flags. I see about 15 boats just going by, and they're all honking their air horns off, and I think they have a police boat escort. So this is all going on right here in Washington, D.C., which is the blue jewel of the Democrat Party, a city that votes 97% for the Democrat ticket, no matter who is there. But you've got people now coming from across the country and all across the political spectrum to join the movement for making America great again. And I said, and I have this clip that's going viral at a Penn State appearance I did with Charlie Kirk, where I said, President Trump, when he got down that golden escalator, he said, make America great again. And he stood for unity from day one. He didn't say make America great again just for one group of people or just for Christians or just for et cetera, et cetera. He never said any of those things. He said for all people. It was the media and people like Joy Reid and Jake Tapper that kept adding things to make America great again. And now that people realize what the likes of Elon Musk, the likes of David Sachs, Sean McGuire from Sequoia, so many others out there, realize that this movement truly is about improving the lives of all American citizens. And that is the distinction, by the way, Roger. The only distinction that President Trump has made is between citizens and non-citizens, between the people of this country and the people of foreign countries. The people, by the way, in places like Asheville, North Carolina, or down in Tennessee right now, who are getting absolutely drenched, flooded, and swamped, while we give another $8 billion to Ukraine and a further $8 billion to the Middle East.
Jack, while we've got you, I got to ask you, the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs released a preliminary report, a bipartisan committee that is chaired by Senator Gary Peters of Michigan and the ranking Republican Rand Paul of Kentucky, also Senator Blumenthal, who is a member of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, as is Senator Ron Johnson. This report is shocking. No, we're not even talking about West Palm Beach. We're still trying to unpack that. But according to the report, it says, and I quote, our initial findings clearly show a series of multiple failures by the U.S. Secret Service and an inexcusable dereliction of duty. That was actually a quote from Chairman or ranking member, Senator Rand Paul. Not only did the United States Secret Service fail to ensure that the roof on the building from which crooks allegedly shot was adequately covered, they were also aware that a suspicious individual with a rangefinder had been on the premises for at least 27 minutes, but did not relay that to the president or his detail so that he could be evacuated. Have you ever seen or heard of anything like this?
Well, Roger, as I mentioned, I'm here at the Kennedy Center, and the only other event in American history that I can liken it to is Dealey Plaza in November 1963 with John F. Kennedy, the day that he met his maker. Roger, we've never seen anything like this at any other moment featuring a president or a presidential candidate in American politics other than those two events. And I think that people have pushed back enough to ask the question, finally, about 1963 and what happened there. And the fact of the matter was, Roger, the question we have to look at is, were these events failures, or was this, in fact, the goal? Was the goal to secure, if the goal was to secure Trump, then of course these would be tremendous failures. But perhaps if somewhere, at some level, if the goal was to leave Trump unsecured, then their mission was accomplished.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, based on, here's an amazing cut from Congressman Eli Crane. He speaks specifically about some troubling details. That's RS1, I think.
One of the videos that I've seen online is from a gentleman named John Colin, who talks about the possibility of a second shooter, and he shows a video, Miss Lee, where in this video, he shows a bullet traveling down a path and the disruption that round supposedly makes, and then flies into one of the stadium fence railings. That shows that it would have been very, very difficult for that round to travel the path that it did had it come from Thomas Crooks. I think that you need to bring this gentleman in, see his evidence, and if you don't think it holds water, then you need to make that assessment. But that was one of the things I said in my opening testimony. Far too often, especially as representatives, we're scared that if we investigate something that others are saying might be conspiratorial, then that might defame us or give us a lack of credibility. But I think any investigation out there that's worth its salt will look at any theory and then try and disprove, debunk it, or see if it holds water and run with it. So John Cullen is somebody I think you guys should bring in here and look at the video evidence that he has of a bullet traveling, in a trajectory, in a path that would not have been able to come from Thomas Crooks.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, so I'm not going to be able to get Jack's full reaction to that, but I know that he is as shocked as I was about this report because we spoke about it. Jack Posobiec, about to, I think, speak to thunderous applause in Washington, D.C., senior editor at Human Events. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show.
Thank you, Roger. God bless.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.